All right, this is going to be another blues lesson about how to play the blues, like quickly find a new key and find some new places to start making notes and find your blues scales and all that. And we're going to talk about the chords first. So once again, just to review, that's an A7. So no matter what fret you were on, you'd be making a 7 chord if you do that shape on the big string. So let's say we want to find a B real quick. B is right here, 7th fret. That'd be your 1 chord in the key of B. Now when you come down from that, your 4 chord is going to be either this one right underneath, this 7 chord here, or it could be flip it around to that shape. So that once again, this one is like 7, 9, 7, 8, 7, 7. You come down here, you'd have 7, 6, 7, 5. And that's starting on the A string and the E note, because B is your 1, E is your 4, F sharp is your 5. So you'd put that chord here, or you could do that here. And then of course, like I always say, there's, instead of a 7, you could make that a 13 by doing that. You can make this a 7, 9 chord. Put a pinky down, you make that a 13 as well. So that gives you some more options. These are kind of a little funkier, whereas the other ones are a little bluesier. And once again, let's say if we were in B, we're doing a quick 12 bar, and you could use your pentatonic scale and jam along with this. 2, 3, and... So that's your standard 12-bar blues. We went from the 1 to the 4, and then we did the 1 twice, and then we did the 4 twice, back to the 1 twice. Then we start our turnaround in the 5 chord, to the 4, to the 1, to the 5. And some ways that these things will change is sometimes you don't always go to that quick 4 chord, so it could be like a... Could be all 4 of those on the 1 chord. Then you go to the 4. Back to the 1. 5. 4. 1. 5. Now check this out. Sometimes on a turnaround you won't go to the 4. Some songs just stick on that 5, so it'd be like, and then back to the 1. And sometimes there's no turnaround at the end, so the 1 would just end up going twice. So say if we did a regular turnaround, but we don't have the turnaround at the end, it'd be 5 chord, 4 chord, and then 1 chord, keep going on the 1 chord. Now the progression would start again. So we didn't do that last kind of turnaround tag. You don't always have to do that. It depends on the song. Like I say, some songs don't go to the 4 after the 5. Some songs don't have a final turnaround and just stick on the 1, and then it starts over, keep going on the 1. And like I say in the beginning, sometimes you don't have that quick change to the 4 chord. Sometimes you're just on your 1 chord 4 times. Also, check this out. So if you put that pinky on the 2nd string of the 10th fret there, gives it a little different ring to it. Okay, so now we're going to get into, if we pick a key real quick, you want to figure out right away where to go start playing some notes. So if I give you a key, like I say, key of A, what are you going to do? Well, one thing that I think you should look at, the root note, of course, is one good spot, but think about the octave of that. Think about the D string where all the notes are. So D is open, here's E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So if we're in A, that might be a good spot to start at, that root note, because you're right here, right by your bending notes, and you're in your pentatonic scale. So instead of always thinking of the bass first, the bass is where you'd want to go to find this chord to get going. But if you're going to take a lead, you might think of like the small note there, that little A. You might think of that as a root note, or you might think of this spot here, kind of get started in the middle there. And then you can kind of move up to higher notes as you go. So let's find a new key. Let's say the key of B. We want to find it on the D string. We want to use our ring finger on the D string, the 4th string. We want to find a B note. So like I said, E, F, G, A, B. There we go. So it'd be 2, 3, 4. And I was playing off that 4 note when it was on the 4 chord, right? Now here goes the turnaround. And there's your turnaround again there. So let's jam a little on B. You guys go ahead and take a solo. Why don't you start on your B note, and you have your, remember where your bend notes are? You could also come into that higher position. You could also go down here. You can take this down that way. So 2, 3, and... Okay, let's say we're going to do the key of D. Let's get going. 2, 3, and... So you want to know these chords down here with the root on the 5th string as well. This is my D7. Turn around, going to A7, down to G7, D7, A7. Okay, so you should have been looking for your 12th fret D note. And then that puts you in your first position of your minor pentatonic. So you could have just been thinking about like this little D here. Or you could have gone to your root note and started into your position that way. I think kind of starting in the middle or down here is more where we kind of solo. We don't always solo in these low notes. So if you always start with the low note going into this pentatonic position, then you should probably try to switch it up and start from some high notes sometimes, so you're not always coming at it like a scale thing. So now another thing is you want to know where your root note is. Like here's your D, but you also want to know that that note underneath it is like a good bend note to start with. So if we were in A, like this is our A note right here, but I might start with this bend. So I'm not always starting on a root. So that bend always sounds good. So you might start with that. You also might start with this bend into the root note. So a lot of times, especially in rock solos and stuff, if people are like, all right, I'm going to be soloing in E minor pentatonic, you might come right up here and just go, because you know that's the E, and you know this bends into that. So it has a lot of feeling, and being a bend, it's like more than just playing a note and giving some vibrato. It has like more emotion to it, you know. So a lot of times starting a solo just like that will be a kind of a good way to get going. But you also have these other options. You could bend on this higher note. It's just like this one kind of gets you started slow by starting with the main note that you're working with. When you go into something else, it's like you're already telling a story. Sometimes if you take a little time to get to the story, it has a little bit more meaning. So one thing we want to think about is the root note on the D string. We also want to think about underneath that, these bend notes. So say if we're in G, I would come here. If I was in F, I'd go. Okay, you also might be in F. You got your F right here, D, E, F. Okay, so that's a little bit about finding your root note on the D, finding your pentatonic first position, and working in the kind of the middle to the high range of it to avoid always being in the low end. And now you have a few different bend notes, especially when you come up in here. You also have that bend there. Now let's look at the B string now. So if I was in A, I would know that's my A right here. So I'm writing my pentatonic. And then I also see how it goes back into the lower A and gets into first position right there. Okay, so it's good to be able to find your note on the second string real quick and get in your pentatonic minor. So if we were in C, bam, that's my C right there. So it's really good to try to familiarize yourself with all these notes on all these different strings. So you could really see, like, grab it real quick. Like, where's a G? Bam, right there. Where's the F? Bam, right there. Where's the E? Where's the high E? You know what I mean? So you really want to know all the names of these frets, all the notes on all these frets. So another thing is, you can get into the major pentatonic, kind of B.B.Box, they call it, by taking your first finger and finding the note on the second string. So if we were in A, I could come up here in this first finger note. Now I'm in like the happy blues scale. Okay, so that gives you happy blues right away. So you might want your third finger to get into the bluesy thing, the more minor pentatonic. Here's A. But if you want that happy blues thing, you might think about, and that middle finger on the 11, the one fret above wherever your note is. If we want a G, we could go. So that note right there kind of leads you into the major sound into that note, whereas that would have been like the minor note. So yeah, that's more happy sounding, more major-ish. So we want to be able to find with our first finger if we want B.B.Box, and our ring finger if we want minor pentatonic on that second string. So what if we wanted a B? How fast can you find the B on the second string? If you guessed that one, you guessed it right. That's the name of the string, that's the octave, 12th fret, that's the B. So I could have been right away. And once again, this is the B. That's why I played off this note when that chord change would have happened. And then you're kind of back to that one, and then you got your turnaround. So 5, 4, 1, 5 turnaround at the end there. So let's try a test of how fast you can find notes. So let's say we're on the G string, we want a D note. How fast can you get there? There's D. We're on the G string, we want an F. How fast can you get there? That's the F. You can kind of cheat and go backwards sometimes if you know that G, if you know it's near, the note is near a G, go to your G and go backwards and find it because it's faster than counting all the way up. So let's go to the B string. Find me an E on the B string. There's one, or here's one. How about the little E string? We want a C note. Right there. We want an F note. We want an A flat note. Okay, so it's really good to find all the notes. Let's do the A string. Sometimes you're in a position where you might be like, we're in the key of E. I'm on the A string, there's my E. Okay, hope y'all enjoyed that. That's a little blues. I'm going to start a new series called Blues Day Tuesday. And every Tuesday, I'm going to have a new blues lesson. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching Damon Wood Guitar Lessons. We'll see you soon.